So, hi all, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and welcome to this session on PL-900 Microsoft Power Platform Fundamentals. Before we start the session, quick introduction of me, myself, Nanddeep Nachhan. I'm mostly working on Power Platform, SharePoint, Office 365, Microsoft Azure. I'm Microsoft MVP for Office Apps and Services, author of couple of books on SharePoint Hybrid as well as SharePoint Framework. And on to the right hand side, here are a few social handles to get connected with me. So firstly, thank you Kasam and dear Azure to arrange this kind of a session wherein we can get more information about the fundamentals of each and every aspects of Office 365 as well as Azure, and from there we can enable everyone to get more knowledge, get the certification. So thanks all for that. So the agenda for this session is we will have the quick exam overview, what is covered in the exam, and then what are the skills those are measured during this exam, and the Power Platform fundamentals. Okay, so in order to see those, what are the exam overview, the best page to see all those information is this docs.microsoft.com, wherein they have clear instructions on what Microsoft is going to cover under this exam, and then what are the skill sets needed. So from here you can schedule the exam and all those things. The major section here is the skills measured. So here check out the skills that will be measured. So first one is kind of business value of Power Platform, which is covered in 15 to 20%, and then core components of Power Platform, which is again weightage of 15 to 20%, and then capabilities demonstration of Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and then we have some lesser weightage for Power Virtual Agent. So in this session, we are going to touch base all of those aspects, and hopefully that should help you to clear out the exam as well as gain the knowledge on each aspects of Power Platform. So I will encourage everyone to go through these modules. So we have 12 good modules available as a part of this Learn series, which covers introduction to Power Platform, Common Data Service, that is CDS, then Power Apps, how to build your Canvas app, model-driven apps, the Power Apps portal, Power Automate, Power BI, as well as Power Virtual Agents. So even after attending this session, I will encourage you to go through this syllabus, and even most of the content and or most of the example are being taken from this Microsoft Learn series. Okay, so the obvious question is what are the types of questions those are asked during this exam? So since this is a fundamental level of exam, we cannot expect any kind of an scenario based questions here, but most of the questions they will be of single choice or multiple choice or drag and drop. One thing to note here that there is no negative marking. So even if you don't know the answer, there is no harm to give the best suited answer, which best kind of an give you or you think as an more appropriate. So I will encourage you to attempt all of the questions. And again, best way to prepare this is Microsoft Learn series. With that, let's start our session with introduction to Power Platform. So as a Power Platform, even you must have seen this image many a times. Even you're going to see it throughout every speaker's presentation. So this is the kind of core of Microsoft Power Platform, wherein we have various products, including Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent. So the best part of Power Platform is that it supports low code or no code kind of a platform by which any of the developer, even citizen developer, pro developers, they will be able to create their applications very rapidly and without having any code knowledge. So even if you are not from the development or coding background, you should be able to create your own applications using Power Platform. So first pillar of this Power Platform is Power BI. So which is mainly used for business analytics. So that means, let's say in the organization, you have the data, but you want to create some meaningful reports, charts, or maybe some kind of an dashboards out of it. So the Power BI is the right choice for you. Then even Using Power BI, you can connect to multiple services or even to the multiple databases or other data sources. We will deep dive into it, but this is just the overview of Power BI. And then we have Power Apps, which is kind of an application development on top of Microsoft Power Platform, wherein you will be able to create the apps by which you will be able to interact with the users. Thirdly, we have a Power Automate, which help you to carry out the business process automation inside your organization, so that you don't have to go manually for each of the process, but you can automate the entire process by using this Power Automate. And then fourth, we have Power Virtual Agent. Even you can refer to those as a chatbots, which again help you to create those chatbots without writing any codes. And then on the feature side of it, we have data connectors, which help you to connect to various data sources, get the data from there. And again, we have something called as AI Builder, which gives some kind of an artificial intelligence capabilities to our Power Platform. And then we have something called as CDS or Common Data Service. So we will look into each of those products, each of those features one by one. So to start with Power Apps. So for example, if you have been using Power Apps, you must be familiar with this kind of an logo. But right after Ignite, we have these new logos for entire Power Platform. So as a part of that, the new logo for Power Apps looks like this. So the base color is same, but just that we have got a new kind of a logo for Power Apps. So Power Apps is nothing but kind of an rapid low code or no code kind of an development environment for building your custom apps. So for example, if you want to create your own apps, in that case, you can use these Power Apps. Most of the functionalities are being offered by Microsoft within Microsoft 365 as well as with Dynamics 365. But for example, if you want to go beyond, write certain kind of an custom applications for your business users, customers, in that case, you can make use of these Power Apps. So this Power Apps enables creation of web as well as mobile application that can run on all of the devices. So while creating the Power Apps, you can choose the platform which you want to create these apps upon, and then they can be supported on web as well as mobile devices. And then again, all of the business user or even the pro developers, they can build the custom apps for which we don't have any of the out-of-box solutions right within our Office 365 or Dynamics 365. So that way we can meet our business requirements from the customer. So this is a short introduction of Power Apps, but we will deep dive into each of those. So firstly, we will just touch base upon all of the main pillars of Power Platform, and then we will deep dive into those. So the second one is Power Automate, which help us to automate the flow of work between applications and services. Again, one thing to note, this logo, it has been changed to this newer one. And then this Power Automate helps to automate any kind of a business processes. So it could be an approval process, it could be any kind of a data collection, or even it could be some kind of an iterative mechanism by which, for example, you are sending out an emails on a frequent basis. So examples here could be, for example, you are creating leave applications. So once you submit your leave to the system, it should go to the approval of your manager. Secondly, it could be approval of your payments or approval of your bills. So if in case you submit any of those bills to your organization, manager will approve it. Then for the second stage of approval, it will go to HR and then to the finance. And we can build all those automate processes so that we don't have to go to each of those individual persons, but we can create those approval processes with few activities and few triggers being in place. And again, for the communication perspective, let's say at the end of each week, you want to send out some kind of an newsletter to everyone. So in that case, you can create those Power Automate, which can run on that frequency which is defined by you, and then it can carry out that automation part. Thirdly, we have Power BI. Again, a logo has been changed from this one to the three bars in yellow shade. And then this is kind of an business analytics service which help you to deliver the insights for analyzing the data. So whenever we are dealing with any of the content around us, we have lot many data that we are dealing with. But just having a data is not enough. We should be able to create some meaningful information out of that data. And the Power BI help us to perform all those kind of a thing. So Power BI will help you to create those data visualizations with the help of reports as well as dashboards. So there is a lot many power that we have within Power BI by which you will be able to connect to various databases, various services, files, and you can pull out the information and then represent that in good reports or dashboard kind of and things. Then we have Power Virtual Agents. Again, the logo has been changed for this. And then this Power Virtual Agents, it enables us to create the chatbots with some kind of a guided or no code graphical interface. So for example, if you're not from the development background, but still you want to create your own chatbot, which can respond to your users. So for example, in the leave system, you just want to check what is the status of your leave. You can just ask the chatbot, what is the status of my leave? Then chatbot can go to that system to check the status of your leave, and it can reply you back with this kind of a status information. So again, we don't have any kind of a dependency to have onto the data scientists or developers in order to create those Power Virtual Agents or bot. We can create on our own. And again, good thing is that from within Power Virtual Agents, we can call the Power Automate flows. So that, for example, if you want to again have certain flows which can get the results for you, or even you want to make any kind of an operations using those flow, once we get to the Power Virtual Agents, even those things are possible with Power Virtual Agent. And commonly Power Virtual Agents are or short formly known as PVA. So for example, if you just see somewhere written as PVA, it is Power Virtual Agents. Then on the feature sides of it, we have AI Builder, which adds all the AI capabilities to our Power Automate workflows, even to the Power Apps, by which we'll be able to predict some kind of an outcomes. So we will see it when we will move to that AI Builder topic. Then secondly, we have a Common Data Service, which is commonly known as CDS. So it is some kind of an scalable data service and app platform which help us to securely store and manage the data from multiple sources. So we can have data lying inside multiple sources, but we can get it together in CDS. And then once we have that, we can integrate that data in business applications using something called as CDM or Common Data Model. So to do all this kind of a thing, we always need a connector by which we can connect to that particular data and get the information or push the information. So connectors can enable you to connect to the apps, data, or devices in the cloud. And again, from Microsoft, we have around more than 275 connectors which we can use within our Power Platform. So the common examples are like connector for Salesforce, for Office 365 itself, Twitter, Dropbox, Google services, by which you will be able to get the data directly from Twitter or from other services. So you don't have to write your custom code, but you can utilize those out-of-box available connectors. And again, yes, for example, if you have your own service or in any of your own web service, and you want to pull the information from that, you can create your own data connectors for this. So with that, let's deep dive into each of the concept. I wanted to cover the common data service very much early before we even start discussing Power Apps. The reason behind this is common data service is the major backbone of this Power Platform. Most of the data that we play around within Power Apps is or can be get from common data service. So that is the reason that we will cover this common data service or CDS as our first topic. So what is meant by common data service is that CDS is designed as an central data repository for business data. So it has got many aspects, right from security, logic, data, storage, and integration. So let's cover those one by one. So CDS handles all the authentication with Azure Active Directory, that is Azure Ready, to allow for conditional access, even multi-factor authentication. So it supports authorization down to the row and field level, and it provides rich auditing capabilities. So we can have all those built-in security features right within CDS, and then we can make use of authentication authorization mechanism using this CDS. On the logic front, CDS allows you to easily apply business logic at the data level. So regardless of how a user is interacting with the data, the same rules applies. So the rules could be related to duplicate deletion, business rule, workflows, or even it could be anything. So instead of having the rules set at the application level, we can define those rules at our CDS level or at our data level itself, so that we can take away that burden from our uh, application layer. Next, we have a data itself. So CDS offers you control to shape your data. It allows you to discover, model, validate, and report on your data. So this control ensures that your data looks the way you want, regardless of how it is being used. So you can have all kind of a modeling done, all kind of a data validation done, and the reporting done on top of CDS using the CDM. That means common data models. And then we have storage. So CDS stores your physical data in the Azure cloud. So this cloud-based storage removes the burden of worrying about where your data lives and how it scales. So the concerns are all handled for you. So you don't have to worry about how the data will be stored, where it will be stored, but down the line it will be stored in the Azure service. From the integration front, the common data service connects in different ways to support your business needs. APIs, webhooks, even the eventing and data exports give you the flexibility to get the data in and out of this CDS. So this CDS lets you create one or many cloud instances of standardized database. And then even the database includes predefined tables and fields, and you can customize and extend what is stored by adding new fields or tables. So even to those we call it as entities. So at least these are few kind of and those important terms before we start looking into the CDS. So we have something called as CDS database, which is just a single instance of CDS which stores data in the set of standard as well as custom data structure, and to those we call it as a entity. So entity is kind of a logical set of records that is used to store your data, which you can use for your application. So it is like a table in your database, or even you can compare it with the Excel workbook. So like the way we store our data inside our SQL database or Oracle database, or the way we store it in Excel workbook, it can be referred to as an entity when it comes to CDS. And then again, there are two types of entities, standard and complex. So standard, that means the one which are being offered out of the box, and the complex, like we can combine multiple of those and create our own entity. For the field, it is again one kind of a way to store the information within a record in that particular entity. So whenever we add any row to our table, let's say, so the information which goes through each of that column can be referred to as a field. And then it is again kind of like the way we store in an Excel. Then lastly, we have a common data model, which is a collection of predefined entities, attributes, metadata, and relationships. So I think that was enough of theory. But before we just move to the demo, again, we have something called as business rules. So these business rules allow you to apply and maintain this business logic at data layer itself, rather than we are going to the application layer and applying the business logic at application level. We can right within our CDS level, we can maintain those business logics. So business rule help us to drive that particular information. Again, when we will go give, sorry, when we will move to the demo part of model driven app, we will cover those business rules in detail. But at least CDS has that power of creating those business rule by which you can apply those business logic at the data layer itself. So again, how these business rules can be used. So at least in Canvas app or model driven app both, we can use those to set the field values, and even in model driven fields, we can just show or hide fields based on those business rules. And again, for Canvas app, it helps us to clear the field values, and here it just helps us to enable or disable fields. And then we can use the business rule for validating the data, and here we can use those to create the business recommendations. So these are few of the basic differences how we can use these business rules within Canvas app and model driven apps. So with that, let's have a look at the demo, like what is CDS and how it looks, and how we are going to use those. So for that, let me move to my Office 365 portal. So from here, you can move to Power Apps. These are all of the apps which are available within your Office 365. Once you click Power Apps, it will open up in a new portal, and take a note of URL that this is make.powerapps.com. So even if you hit this URL make.powerapps.com, you will be landed to this particular page. So so here at least under the data section, we have all those entities. So from here, or this is kind of an CDS that we have. So from here, we have few of those already defined entities, let's say account. So we can open that entity, which is account. So most of the commonly used business entities are already given by Microsoft. So we can at least use those, or even we can create our own entities. So firstly, let's explore the entities which are already given by Microsoft. So account is one of that entity which is being used mostly. So here there are various fields including account name, address, and other things. Even we are going to use these fields when we will create our apps using the model driven apps. So these are all the entities. There are various entities which are available. Even we can go here, we can add a new field to this particular entity called as account. We can type the display name, and then we can set the data type. So data type can be anything, including these many values that we have. So even we can store files here, image lookups. So lookup, for example, if you have any other entity and you want to have relationship between those two entities, it can be created using this lookup. And then there are many data types available which you can utilize to best represent your business information. And yeah, the next thing is, for example, if you want to change anything here, even it can be done. If you want to change a display name for out of the box entities, it can be done from here. Even you can make those searchable or non-searchable, and even you can enable the auditing on each of the fields inside your entities. The second thing is relationships. So as I said, we can have the relationship between multiple entities, and that relationship could be one to many, many to one, or one to many. So from here, you can select any of that. So for example, if you click one to many, and from here you can define the other entity which you want to select, and you can have those relationship between those two entities. Uh, the business rule is the one which we were discussing on the previous slide. So from here, you can click add a business rule. It will take you to other URL or a portal wherein you can define those business rules. So this business rule will help you to create some kind of an logic or some kind of an validation which you can create right within your data layer, so that when it comes to the application layer, you don't have to worry too much because all those capabilities will be built in right within your data layer. So okay, it is taking some time, but not to worry because we are going to cover this when we are going to talk more about the model driven apps. So this is how the business rules will work. Like, then again, let me go back to the entities, and even from here we can click new entity and we can create our own entity. And once we create our own entity, we can go ahead and add more fields to that entity. So let's say, for example, we have many entities available here, but for the one which your customer is into the business, if those entities are not available here, in that case, you can click new entity and you can create those entities, add the fields which are related to your business. Okay, so at least that's how the common data services are being used. So the next thing is the environments into this CDS. So what is mean by environment is like environments are used to store, manage, and share your organization's business data. Even the apps, even the flows that you can create with Power Platform inside your sorry, the flows you can create with your Power Automate inside your Power Platform. So environments are used to store all those apps, flows, even the business data that you have. And then each environment allows you to provision one CDS database for use within that particular environment. So whenever we go to our Power Platform here, let's say we again go to our Power Platform. From here, we can select Admin Center. So this is from where we can get to all of the environments. So let it load. By default, we have one environment which is available to us, which is your tenant name. This one will be the default. And from the security perspective, this will be available to all of the users within your Office 365 tenant. So for example, if you are storing some kind of a secured information and you want to or you're looking out for that security aspect, the better thing is that you can click here, create your new environment, and in those environment you can define the roles which you want to assign. But again, roles are not covered in the PL-900, but just to give more information that once we have the environment, we can create the roles like what kind of an access controls each of those users should have. So from here, we'll be able to create our own environment. But again, one thing is that you should need at least 1 GB of storage for you. So right now, I don't think I have it, but maybe if you try to create one database. So again, in the types here, you can create it for the sandbox environment, production, or for a trial basis. So let's say we want to create it for a production. And once we click save, it should create one database. But as I said, at least it needs 1 GB of database capacity. So if you are overrunning that capacity, you will not be able to create a new environment. So again, coming back here, by default, this default environment will be available to all of the users, but you can go ahead, you can create your environments per region. So whenever we are coming here, we have this region. So we can create the environments per region, and then this region will take care of the data residency for that particular environment. So all of the data, for example, if we are selecting France, in that case, all of the data or all of the apps flows which we are creating under this environment will be stored under this particular data residency. The third point here is that CDS environments allow you to manage user access, security settings, even the storage that is associated with that particular database. So each CDS environment can have multiple databases. So each environment is created under Microsoft Azure Ready tenant, and its resources can be accessed by your users within that particular tenant only. And then you can create one or more environment, but just that one thing to note that you should have at least 1 GB of space available to create that new environment. Okay, so then let's see the what are the other admin center options available for Power Apps. So once we go to Power App Admin Center, we have various options available here, but the major one which we should be thinking of are environments, where we are creating the environments. So it lists out all of the instances of this CDS that we have. So right now you can see I have 3 environments, but if we have the space, we can go ahead and create a new one. Second thing is we should take care of is data policies. So we can set up the policies to restrict which data connectors can be used with CDS, to limit what data can flow in or out of the CDS entities. So we can create those policies from here. And then thirdly, we have data integration. So this data integration section lets you create or add predefined connections and monitor these connections between CDS and other data stores like SQL Server or even a Salesforce. So this will be mostly used for those kind of data integration capabilities. Okay. Next thing is that okay, we covered like how we can create and manage our environments. So one thing to note that here is that we will always have our default environment, which will be by default provision. So all of the apps, flows, or data that we are creating or storing inside our Power Platform will be get stored to that default environment. And then even on top of that, you can create your own environment. You can select that region, and then data residency will follow from there. So now that let's move to more advanced things like Power Apps. So as we discussed, Power Apps is kind of an low code or no code platform for building the applications. And again, we have more than 275 connectors available, by which we'll be able to connect to various databases, various services, or even to the file systems. And then again, we do have support here for CDS. So the common data sources that are used mostly is obviously CDS. Then even you can connect to SharePoint, SQL, Dynamics 365, any of the apps or services within Office 365, and even using the on-premises data gateways, you can connect to on-premises data sources. So again, we are going to cover how we can use the on-premises data sources using on-premises data gateway. But Power Apps can be used to connect to all of these data sources. So more specifically, Power App supports two kind of an apps or two types of an apps. So first one is Canvas app, and then we have something called as model driven app. So the Canvas app, that means we can build an app from blank canvas. So whenever we will start by creating that particular app, we will get a blank canvas, and on top of that we can start creating our app by adding the controls or placing some labels, placing the buttons, and all those things. So once we start by creating that app, we will have to choose the screen size. So it could be a tablet or it could be a mobile. And then once it is done, we can add the data sources to our app. We can drag and drop various controls, including labels, text boxes, and other things. And once it is done, we will get those Excel style kind of formulas by which we'll be able to implement some kind of business logics in this Canvas apps. And again, this is how the Canvas apps will look like. Okay. Then secondly, we have model-driven apps. So these model-driven apps are built from a data within CDS. And then the app size will be responsive to work on mobile or even. So this model-driven apps help us to define the relationship, views, forms, business rules inside our CDS, and then we can get the business results without writing in any kind of formulas. So this is the difference between model-driven apps and canvas apps. Then we have something called as portals, or even those are commonly known as Power BI portals. Sorry, Power Apps portals. So it is again kind of a no-code solution for building your externally facing websites, so that we can enable it for external users, and it can be built by some kind of an anonymous or authenticated website, which allows user to interact with the data which is inside our CDS. And again here we can have the experiences of drag and drop to build the rich and the interactive websites. Okay. And then lastly we have a AI builder, which adds some kind of an artificial intelligence to the apps with no code. So all of those AI builders are available in Power Apps. So firstly, we do have a prediction. So this model predicts whether something will happen or not based on the previous data history. Secondly, we have, so this model extracts the text from an image like a business card reader. So let's say we give some kind of a business card reader to this AI builder. It can help us to extract the information from that business card, because if you take example of business card, there are many ways by which we can design our uh, business card. So it can have some logos, even the layout of the business cards will be different, but with the AI capabilities built, we will be able to extract the content from that business cards. And then we have object detector. So this model defines object from an image or any kind of a taken photo, and then provides a count of number of objects which are present in that particular photo. And then lastly we have text classification. So this model categorizes text by its meaning and making it as easier to analyze. So we can have in any kind of an text classification done, like whether it is some kind of an positive text, negative text, or it is some kind of a neutral text. So those kind of an AI capabilities are built in with AI builder. So let's go into some kind of a demo part, like how we can build the Canvas apps. So before we start the demo, there are few basic elements that we should be aware of whenever we will start making our Canvas apps. So first one is Power App Studio. So it is some kind of an web interface to build your app. So there is no client to download or install for building apps. Everything can be done from a browser by browsing to make.powerapps.com. And then secondly, we have an app format. So firstly, to start with, you will have to choose the format of your app. So it could be mobile or a tablet. Both formats can be used interchangeably on a mobile devices, even on a tablet or even on a computer. So each has default sizing of the screens and the controls available. One thing to note here is that once you choose the format of the app, you cannot change it. We will once we will start designing the app, we should be very much sure of what kind of an app we are targeting for. Then we have galleries. So the gallery control is used to display the records from the table of data. So it is kind of an list, you can say, for list representing the list of all of your records which are available. And then we have a forms. So these forms are focused on working with a specific record. So often based on a specific selection from a gallery, forms enables user to not only view that detailed information, but even we can save new records or edit the existing records using those forms. And then we have input controls. So this Power Apps offers large selection of input controls, including text inputs, buttons, drop down, even toggles, date pickers, and sliders. So these are few of those examples of input controls. And then you can add these controls to galleries and to the forms and even to the screen to build the functional experience for your app. And then we also have some kind of an intelligent controls. So Power Apps also provides a rich set of controls for more advanced operation. So these are some kind of an hardware based controls which allows you to access maybe the camera, even the barcode scanner, GPS, and many of the other hardware related features. So these are also service backed controls like a business card reader or even the object detector, which allows you to add some kind of an artificial intelligence to your app without writing even a single line of code. And then lastly, we have functions. So this function binds all of these controls, inputs and data sources together. So you can use one or more of these functions to create formulas in your applications. So at least these are the basic elements that we should be aware of before we start building our Power Apps. So now that with this basic information, let's get into the Power Apps portal and try to build one Canvas app. So let me close this down. Okay, so now that we are to this Power App portal, and again, the best place to go here is make.powerapps.com. So even in the exam, maybe you get this kind of an questions like the entry point to Power Apps. So it is make.powerapps.com. Once you are here, you can see all of the apps that you have created earlier, and even if you want to create those will be available under apps. So these are all of the apps that you have created based on the type. So we have few Power Apps portal created, one Canvas app created, and few of the model driven apps created. In order to create a new app, you can either click create here, or even if you're on a home, if you're on apps and you want to create a new app, even it can be done here. So we will click create here. We will click Canvas app from blank. So this is a place from where we can start creating our apps. And for example, if you are very much sure that the data that you are going to use or the data source that you are going to use, for example, SharePoint, Excel Online, SQL or CDS, even you can click any of these to get started. But just to make it simple, we will just click Canvas from blank. And then probably we will just type name as a demo app, maybe demo Canvas app, and then we will click create. So this will just create one Canvas app for us. So let it load. Okay. And then we can just click skip here. And right now that we just have the plain canvas available to us. If I click play, this is just the blank canvas. But what you can do now is that from here you can insert various controls here. So it could be a label, even it could be any kind of a button. So you can place all of these controls here. Even from the input, you can add maybe the text input, pen input, drop down. So let's say we will just add one text input here. And now that if we click run, here we can type our input, and once we click on button, we'll be able to make some action on it. So for example, if you want to do some kind of an action, you can click the button and write your formula here, so that you'll be able to create all those things. But this was very basic of how we can create those. Let's say for example you already have your data stored somewhere within your system, and now that you want to get it from there. So in that case, probably you can click this other data sources here, and then okay, for this let me set some background. I have few files here. So we have let's say files for Contoso site tracking. So we have that information in form of Excel. wherein we have all those information stored. And now that we want to utilize this Power Apps to show this kind of an information. So let the Excel load, and for this site tracking application, we do have few images which are available here. Okay, let it load too. All right. Just to save our time, what I have done is I went ahead and I have uploaded all this data to OneDrive. So if I go to OneDrive, here I have added that data to Power Apps, Contour Site Tracking, and we have uploaded these files as well as the images to this OneDrive. So if I again go back here, this is the data that we have. So we have notes here, sorry, not notes. We have a title here, subtitle, description, few kind of a notes, city, and even the path to the images. So we are trying to build some kind of an application which has got information about our site tracking. So we have few sites which we are working on. So that means the construction sites that we are working on, and for that we want to create the application. So we have this data. Now that we want to create a Power Apps by which we'll be able to uh, get some information or even add some information to this. So for that we will click new connection, and from the new connection, since we added it to OneDrive, we will click OneDrive. Okay, and then we'll click sorry, is it OneDrive for business? Yeah, it should be OneDrive for business, because there are two things, OneDrive and OneDrive for business. OneDrive is the one which by which you can manage your files right within your system from your Windows, and OneDrive for business is more of for the cloud storage. So since we have these files stored within our OneDrive on cloud, we will click OneDrive for business and let's click create. So what it will do is now that it is going to create a connection to my OneDrive for business, and now that you can see that this connection is available here with OneDrive for business, and all of your previous connections can be seen here. So even I already had connected to my SharePoint site, so I do have that connection here. So if in case next time you have any of the data in OneDrive and you want to get connected to that, you don't have to create a connection one more time, but you can use this existing connection. So now that we have this connection here, we'll navigate to this particular path, which is Power Apps Contour Site Tracking. We'll go there, Power Apps Contour Site Tracking, and this is the Excel that we have. So the Excel which is stored here. So we are getting to that Excel. We will choose a table which is our site inspector, and then we will connect to that Excel. Okay, let it load. So that Excel is a very simple format wherein we have the data represented in columns. So I will just skip this part. Maybe I will zoom in a bit, but now that you can see, we already have our application ready. So here, if I just click on play, you can see that we have our application ready. And the one which you are seeing here right now, this one is the gallery control. And then, for example, if I click plus, then this is the form control that we have. And with this, we will be able to create new entries inside our application. And then, for example, if you want to customize this, what you can do is you can probably select. While selection, you have to be very much careful because you have very less data to select, but you can select this, and from here you can change the layout. So for example, we want to have some kind of a layout which is like this. So now that this one is again another layout which we are using. Again, if you want to customize this a bit, and from even from here you can go to insert, you can probably add your own labels, and those labels will be available for each of the each of the control within your gallery. So this is how, let's say I'm not going to spend more time on this, but at least this is how it will look. So we will not spend time on formatting of this, but we just have dropped the control, and as we drop the control, it has automatically taken some binded to the label, sorry, the information that we had already inside our data. which is city, and from there we are able to get that city. And once we now run this, we will have this city being displayed here. Even you can click refresh to get the newer data. You can sort this particular data directly from here, and then you can add new data here. So this was very quick that how we can create the Power Apps within our system. Okay, so you can either you can start from a blank canvas. You can keep adding your controls to that blank canvas, or even if you have already your data within any of the other system, it could be in an Excel, could be in a database, or even in SharePoint. So you can use that to build your applications. Okay. The next thing is that now we will move to building the model-driven apps. So again, when it comes to model-driven apps, so this model-driven app focuses on adding dashboards, forms, views, and even charts to your apps. So in model-driven apps, the layout is determined by the components that you add to that app. So here we have three design phases. So first one is model your business data. So here we will determine what data the app will need, and how that data will relate to other data. That means the metadata. And then it defines the structure of the data that is stored within your CDS. And secondly, we have defining your business processes. So it consists of processes that help ensure that your app users can focus on their work, and the processes can be simple or complex, and then often change over the time. Okay. Thirdly, we can build the app. So after modeling the data and defining the processes, you can build your app by selecting and setting up the components you need inside your app designer. So this is one example that we are going to build, but this is how it looks, and these are the three major design phases that are included as part of the model driven app. So let's go into the demo of this model driven app. So again, I will close out these things which we don't need. And again, one thing, we can go back to make.powerapps.com, and from here we can click create to create our model driven app. So we'll click create here again. And then we can give a name to this particular app. So I will just call it as demo account information. So now that we want to have some kind of an account information, like let's say we are going to have a merger, and then there will be a few of the accounts which are available from the other organization also, and we want to define that kind of a merging application. So for that, we will create this particular app. So we are naming this as a demo account information. You can, if you have your own logo icon, you can use that. Otherwise, for now, just to keep it simple, we will go ahead with the default icon. We'll click done from here, so that we'll be able to create our model driven app. So once we are here, you can see a few of the things like sitemap, dashboards, and the entities here. So again, you will see the red triangle here showing some kind of a warning that the configuration is missing. So for that, we will start by that missing configuration of sitemap. So in this sitemap, we'll have to define our area wherein we are going to work, the group and the sub areas. So at least for this area, maybe we can call it as a sales area. So I will just rename this to, I'll just rename this to sales area. Okay. And then for this group, probably we can call it as, let's say maybe a sales group, even that is fine. And then in this sub area, we can keep adding the entities. So let's say we want to, or we will make use of account entity. So we can add that account entity. Even for example, if you want to add more entities here, you can click add and then sub area. And again, from here, maybe you can add more entities. Let's say I know there are entity available with contact. We can use those. Sorry, contact. Yeah. So we can use this contact entity also. So this is how we can define our map. So once it is done, what we can do is again we will just save this configuration first. And okay, once it is saved, we will again move back to our app designer from this breadcrumb. So now that at least that warning has gone, and now that we have this site map to work for us, and then we will start by creating our own business process flow. For that, we'll click create new from here, and we will create our new business process flow. For this process flow, we will maybe just call it as account business process. Once we click tab, it will take the name automatically. And in the entity, let's say we will select account, so that we want to play around with the entity called as account, and which is directly coming from our CDS. Okay, we'll click OK, so that it will give us some kind of a canvas, not exactly canvas, but some kind of a playground wherein we can create our model driven app. So this is how it looks. And then what we can do here is that we have this entity called as an account. Okay, just a moment. I clicked it and it went into some kind of a processing. All right. So, all right. I think I will have to again repeat this process. So I will just call it as one more time. Maybe we'll just call it as a business automation process. And entity we will again select is as account. Okay, now that we again have this canvas that we can work with. So here in this account, we have multiple stages. So in the first data stage, maybe we want to get the information about that particular account. So we will maybe add this step here and get to the city. So we have a city directly available here. Sorry, it was here. So we can get the city, and once we select that, we should click apply. Otherwise, it will not remember the choice that we have made. Again, what we can do is again we can click add if you want to have one more kind of a step added here. It can be done from here. So there's a background noise. So again, we can add new step here, and for that probably we can just call it as oh, sorry, we were not intended to add the new step, but okay, let me go back. But okay, now that we have this data step here, again we can go to add and click add data step. And once I click here, I will be able to add one more data step. And let's say we can probably get the number of employees that we have. So here we should have number of employees. We have the number of employees that we will get here. So now that once we start with this account creation, we are getting the information about the city of that particular account and then the number of employees. And then what we can do is we can add one more stage from here, or even if you go to these components, you can drag and drop these stages here. So there are two ways by which you will be able to add these stages. So either directly from here or from the components part. We have this stage created here. We will maybe call it as a final stage where we will finalize our account. So I will just call it as a finalize account stage. And then in the category, we will not have anything, but at least entity will be account here. So I will just click apply so that we will save our changes. Then again, from the component, let's say we will add some kind of a condition, which we will place it here. So this condition, with this condition, what we are going to do is we will check whether this some kind of a big customer or big account that we have. So for example, if the in the rule, if the number of employees that we have here, if it is if it is less than maybe any of the number, let's say 5,000, in that case this one is going to be a big account. Otherwise this is going to be a smaller account. So for that, what we will do is we will add one more component here. Okay, so we will add that stage which is over here. So we have added that stage, and probably we can call it as maybe a big account stage, and the entity will be account, obviously. Okay, and then for example, if you want to for the else part, we want to have some kind of an other logic. In that case, again, we will go back here, we will add one more stage. So once it turns out white, you should drop this stage. So now that we have this stage, which is for our smaller account. So if the number of accounts or the number of employees are less than or get less than 5,000, in that case, it will be a small account stage. So I will just call it as a small account. Sorry, if someone is not talking, can you please mute yourself, because there is too much of background noise. Or maybe I can do it myself. All right, yeah. I hope you can still hear me. Yeah. All right, so we will just call it as a small account stage, and we'll click apply. And again, once we do that, what we can do is we can go to the details, and in these data steps, we can add more number of data steps that we want to add. So let's say for example, we want to get the city one more time. So we will add it as a city. And let's say even for the big stages, instead of city, we want to maybe take the country, we can add that. So now that we have our basic flow ready with us, we'll click apply. What we will do is we will click on save, so that this particular flow will be saved. Sorry, I will mute everyone again. So it might take some time to save this. So once it is saved, what we can do, the next thing is we will validate this. So okay, there is some error here because we haven't configured this particular step. So again, here probably we can go and select anything. Let's say again we will select country or even the city. That should be fine. So let us save it one more time, and then again let's validate this. Okay, so it is saving, and then we will validate this one more time. So now that the validation is successful, so that means we have designed our business automation process here to define like what kind of an accounts those are coming to our system, whether it is having the less number of employees, so that we can call them as small account stage. If more number of employees, we can call those as big account. Okay. With this, I will close out this part, or I will just close this, so that we can again come back to these business processes. And from here, instead of all, I will just select the process that we just created. I guess it was the account business process. So this is the only process that we will select. Next thing what we can do is, or let me first save this. Okay, so once it is done, what we can do is again probably we can go to this account, and instead of all of the forms which are available, we'll just make it available for our account form. And then probably even we can do this for views, and we will not select all the views, but maybe just the active accounts. We will untick this. So we are selecting only one view from here. Even if you want to go, do it for charts and dashboards, you can do it. But as of now, I will just save this. Once this is saved, we can publish this, so that now our model driven app is ready to publish. So it might take some time to publish. Okay. Yeah, I think it is published. What we can do now is we can click play, and even from here we'll be able to test out our model driven app. So once we are here, the sales group that we created, we added accounts as well as we added contacts. So both are here, and we just have only one active view selected, which is active accounts, which we are able to see it here. Now that the business process flow can be seen when we are adding new account here. So once I click new, I can add the account name. So it could be maybe Dear Azure. So this is the new account that is coming in. So here, okay, I think we are not able to see anything here, but okay, let me go back, discard these changes. somehow we should be able to see the okay, all right, okay, but at least it should have even shown the step to which we are here. But from here we can add the dear Azure, and then okay, it is somehow it is not showing, or maybe I missed few of the part when I was designing. So, or not an issue. Probably what I can do is for this kind of scenarios, I already have a few built-in apps that probably I can show it to you. So if I move to this customer information, if I play this, so this is a similar app that I worked with. So now here, if I select this new account and click new from here, okay, let it load. Oh, yeah, now that all of your business process flows should be seen over here. So for example, here we can add maybe account name as Dear Azure. And now that this particular stage we have is just the new stage, which was for less number of employees. But now that we can go to this number of employees, let's say I will add 9,000. In that case, you can see that it has come to extra large. If I take away that 90,000 or just say 70, in that case, that extra large has gone, and now that we have this new stage, and to this each of the stage, we also have added few of the extra data that we required. So for example, this primary contact name, or even whenever we are selecting, let's say the extra large, we have requested the primary contact for that extra large. So these kind of things can be directly built using this model driven app. So you can create your business process automation right within your model driven apps. So that was about how we can create the power apps, the model driven apps, as well as the canvas driven apps. The next thing is the power apps portals. So again, for the Power Apps portals, it's like it provides a great way to allow internal and the external audiences to view and interact with the data from CDS, even from Dynamics 365. And through this Power Apps interface, you can build an anonymous or authenticated website that provides them with branding, personalization, even the self-service kind of an experience. So there are various portal templates which are available. So if you are building a custom business application by using CDS without Dynamics 365 apps enabled, uh, your only choice is the portal from blank option. So for example, let's say I have this app here, and sorry, portal here. If I go to portal from blank, or sorry, not portal from blank, since I don't have the Dynamics 365 subscription available to me, the only option that I'm getting for creation of portal is portal from blank. But for example, if you have the Dynamics 365 apps enabled, in that case you will get all these five options. So there is an option called as community portal. So you can choose this option to provision a portal that is more focused on an online community. So this portal will contain features like forums, ideas, blogs, and case management, which will be helpful for any kind of an community. Secondly, we have a customer self-service portal. So this option provides the ability for portal users to search knowledge articles, submit their cases, and participate in the discussion forum to resolve any kind of an issues. Thirdly, we have employee self-service portal. So this portal allows employees to access a centralized knowledge articles, and also to submit the cases. Then we have a partner portal. So again, we can choose this option to build a portal where external partners can manage and collaborate on accounts and opportunities. And then there are few add-ons available for Dynamics 365 field service, or even Dynamics 365 project service for this partner portal. And then lastly, we have a customer portal, or which is also referred as Dynamics 365 supply chain management. So this Dynamics 365 supply chain management customer portal is a template that provides portal access to Dynamics 365 supply chain management data, and by using dual write CDS entities. So you can use any of these portals if you have the Dynamics 365 apps enabled and start from there. Then the obvious choice, if you don't have that, is only CDS with the portal from blank. So this option is meant for unique line of business scenarios where the other templates are not a good fit, and the portal can be configured to address a variety of requirements. So let's get into the demo of how we can provision that portal. So now that I'm just going to the another tenant, and if we start by blank portal, here we can specify the name and the unique address for our portal. So that portal will be created as with the address that we have provided, dot portal dot powerappsportals.com, and then we can select the language. So I will not create this because the creation of this portal takes 5 to 7 minutes. So for that, I already have created one portal. Let me close this one out, and let me go back to my other tenant where we have that. So let me again go back to Power Apps. Let us close the things which we don't want, and here we already have created that portal. Okay, so I will click edit so that we'll be able to see this portal. So this is one of the portal that we have created, or this is the one which is out of the box available portal. Okay, okay, let it load. So once you create any of the portal with that blank template, this is the look and feel that you will get. And to here you can maybe start by creating new pages with blank or landing page, or even we have some kind of a fixed layout by which we'll be able to create the pages with title or with some kind of a child links. And if you want to navigate to these pages, this is how you can do. So let's say, for example, if we add a new blank page, and onto the right hand side we can configure the properties for those. Okay, it is still loading. So once we do that, that particular page will be available to us. So let us call this as maybe a demo page. And once we do that, again, if I go back to the navigation, this will be available to us to navigate from here. And to this page, we can add the section layouts, and even we can drag and drop the text boxes, images, iframes, and other things. And even for example, if you want to apply any kind of themes, it can be done. So let's say for this we want to apply some kind of a dark theme, it can be done from here. And then lastly, we have few of the templates. For example, you want to create few pages, maybe for access denied, full pages, page with title, you can select those templates directly from here. So maybe I will leave it up to you as an exercise to create your own portal. But as you create the portal, that particular portal will be available to you to use out of the box. Okay. And then, let's move to one thing I missed out for this portal part is that the section that we see here on the top, it is called as an command bar, and then we have a tool belt here. Then we have this canvas on which we can create our portal, and then at the end we have this footer. It can be customized, and then onto the right hand side, this section is called as a properties pane, which will help you to control the properties for the selection that you have made. So for example, if you have selected any of the button, it will show the properties for that button. Right now we are onto a page, so it is showing the web page property pane. So these are all the components that we have onto this Power Apps portal. Okay, so the next thing is Power Automate. So the Power Automate is used to automate the repeating business processes. So earlier it was named as Microsoft Flow, but in October of 2019, Microsoft Flow was renamed to Power Automate. The reason was obvious that we can have some better convenience, that the service is now able to do more than just creating the flows. Because earlier it was like we were just able to flows, but now that it is not just about the flows, but we can go beyond that and we can automate many of our business processes using this app. So for that reason, it has been renamed from Microsoft Flow to Power Automate. So once it comes to Power Automate, we have three types of flows that we can create. So first one is event driven flow. So these are the flows that you can build with a trigger and then one or more actions. So these are kind of a multitudes of triggers and actions available, and even we can use those existing connectors to get the data from, and then you will see these as kind of an my app, my flows or team flows inside your Power Automate. And the only difference between the my flow and the team flow is kind of an ownership. So for example, if I move to my Power Automate here, so here we should be able to see once you click my flows here. So there are something called as my flows and there is something called as a team flows. So the difference here is that my flow is the one where I am the owner of those flows, whereas the team flows are the ones those are kind of shared with the team, and that has got more than one owner. So it can happen like we can create the flow, and then later on to that particular flow we can add someone else as the owner. So let's say for example, instead of um, so from here, if I click share and share this with another users, then this particular flow, which is at the moment is my flow, can be converted to team flow. Okay, because now that we have multiple users who are owner of this particular flow. So this is a subtle difference between my flows and team flows. So it is not like we are building the team flows independently or in some different manner. We always start with my flows and then we expose those to multiple owners, and then it becomes our team flow, so that within anyone within our team can collaborate on that flow. He can design that flow and then again publish that. So this is the only difference between my flow and team's flow. Then secondly, we have a business process flows, which are here. So these are the business process flows. So these flows are built to augment the experience when using the model driven apps and the CDS. So use these flows to create a guided experience in your model driven apps. And then lastly, we have a UI flows. Even to create those UI flows, you will need some kind of an licensing. So these are some kind of an robotic process automation or RPA flows, which allows you to record yourself performing actions onto your desktop or within a web browser, and then you can run or then you can trigger a flow to perform those processes for you. So you can record the steps that you are performing, and then you can be able to mimic those out with these UI flows. And you can also pass the data.
Your voice is not audible.
Your voice is not there.
Nanddeep, you seems to be muted.
Your voice,
Nanddeep,
your
someone
voice
muted
is
you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
yes, yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay,
Yes,
Yes, yes,
when
yes,
we
when
yes.
can
I
hear
got
you.
muted. But okay, at least but okay. Just help me like to which part I got muted so that I can repeat from that part.
Just if
From this
you can
slide,
say.
starting from
This
this
slide
slide.
onwards. Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, so there are few important concepts when it comes to designing your Power Automate flows. So first one is trigger and second one is action. So you can think of trigger as like starting action for any kind of an flow. So the trigger can be something like a new email arriving in your inbox, or even it can be a new item being added to your SharePoint list, or even it could be deletion of any of the item or updation of any of the item from CDS or even from your SharePoint list. So those are the triggering points. And then secondly, we have actions. So actions are what you want to happen when a trigger is invoked. So for example, the new email trigger will start the action of creating a new file on OneDrive for Business. Other example of actions include maybe sending an email, posting a tweet, or even starting some kind of an approval. So that is the difference between trigger and the actions. So when it comes to trigger, uh, when defining this kind of a triggers, there are a few different types. So when something changes, that means these are triggers that run when data is changed. So it could be a new item created in SharePoint, a lead is updated in Dynamics 365, or when an event has been deleted from Outlook. These are few of the examples of triggers. The previous flow is kind of an example of a flow that runs when something changes. Okay, and then even we can have some kind of an on a schedule. So you can set up a flow to be triggered at a certain time of a day, uh, even with some kind of an recurrence. So this allows for processes such as maybe checking every day at 8 a.m. to see if there are accounts renewals pending, or if sending an email to the necessary people. Even the one example could be that you want to send out a newsletter at the end of the week on a Friday. So these are the examples for on a schedule. And then lastly, we have on a button press, or maybe we can call it as a manual trigger. So this trigger takes place in many ways. This can be when a flow virtual button is run through the mobile app, or even a physical button is clicked, or with third-party options, or even when a button is placed inside of a Power Apps. So this gives you or the user's controls to run a flow on demand. So you can call it as a on-demand kind of an flows. Okay. So one is once it come to the types of flow, or the triggers that we can do. So it's like the something change, a schedule one, and the demand flows. Okay. Then in the actions we have got examples like loops, so like which can run some kind of an action until the conditions are met uh, to move to next step of that particular flow. So you can refer to as the while or for loops that we used to define in our .NET applications, or any of the other applications. Then we have a switch which identifies a single case to execute based on evaluation of an input. Then we have a do until, which executes maybe a block of actions until a specified condition is met or that condition evaluates to true value. Then we have applied to each, which executes a block of actions for each item in some kind of an input array. So let's say we have an array of elements and we want to apply some kind of an block of actions to each of those. It can be done from this. And then lastly, we have expressions. So the underlying definition that describes the actual logic that runs in your flow that can be manually written. So at least these are the triggers and these are the actions that we can use inside our Power Automate flows. So let's see like how we can create those flows from a template. So for that, again, I will go back to my Power App portal, sorry, Power Automate portal. Even uh, you can just type in the browser flow.microsoft.com and you will be able to come to this section. So once you are to the home, it will show you the flows which you have created, or even the approval tasks which are pending for you, so that you can take the approval or rejection action right from here. And then again, there are certain templates available which you can use. So based on like what kind of an activity you want to perform, you can use any of those templates. So again, those templates have been categorized as topics, remote work, email, notification, even the approval. So let's say we want to work on some kind of an approval process, so we can directly go to that approval tab, and then we can add any of the approval. So let's say we want to start an approval whenever a new item is added into a SharePoint. So I will just take that as an example. So we'll click on that. So once we are here, it will ask us to ask this flow to connect to various connections. So firstly, it is Office 365 Outlook, because we want to send out an email to the SharePoint where our data is. To the approvals, because we want to carry out some kind of an approval system, and then to the Office 365 users. For example, we want to get maybe the manager or any of the other user to which we can delegate these tasks. So the flow will connect to all of these connections, and then we can continue from here. And again, one thing to note, that all of your operations that is happening to this Power Automate flow will be under the observance of this particular account that you have selected. So we can click continue here, and from here we'll be able to create our flow. So just for a demonstration purpose, maybe I can open up new link, and here I have one list created, which is very basic list, nothing in there. I just have called it as a demo list. If I click new, it is a plain list with just accepting title, nothing else. So again, I move back to here. In the site address, we'll have to specify this particular site address, or even if you have selected that in the past, it should also appear into the drop down. But for example, if you're not able to find your site very quickly, yeah, maybe you can paste that. Once you select the SharePoint site, you can select the list inside it, and luckily I just have only one list there, so that I can select it automatically. In the show advanced option, for example, if you want to limit the selection by view or columns, it can be done. The next thing is that we already have the template predefined for us. So the only part which we will have to work here is to provide the address of our SharePoint site and the list name. And the other thing will be automatically taken care by Power Automate. But we will walk through this template. So we have this start and approval, wherein we are starting the approval process. And here we can specify to whom we want to assign this particular task. So probably what you can do is you can probably get your profile. You can pull out the manager from here, add his name here. But just to keep it simple, I will type our admin. Okay, so to that admin, it will trigger an approval. And then in the details, we are passing in the information which we are getting from our item that has got created. Then we have a few conditions here. Sorry, conditions here based on what kind of approval action has been. What kind of approval action has been taken by the user. So if it is kind of an approved, we are just sending that approval notification to the user that your item is approved. Otherwise, we are just informing of the rejection. And here, okay, let me expand this condition. So if the response is approved from this user, we are following to this path. Otherwise, we can even getting the user profile and sending the email to him, and then we are terminating the process. For example, if it is not able to start the approval process. Okay, so we will save this. But before you save, if you observe this part here, which is just saying start approval process when new item is added. So to which probably we can give some meaningful name. So I will just call it as a demo approval flow. Otherwise, it will pick up the name of your first activity that you have added, and we'll click save. So let's say, for example, if you want to add some more actions to it, what you can do is you can click this plus icon. You can click add an action, And from here we'll be able to choose the action. So again, here we have controls by which we'll able to define if else kind of a condition, and then based on what kind of an activities you want to perform. Let's say for example you want to post a message to Microsoft Teams, so in that case you can select Microsoft Teams, and from here you can select maybe post a message, or even if you want to get some information from Teams before you go ahead with your business logic, it can be done. Let's say for example this is one type of an connector that we have, which is MSN Weather. So if you want to get some kind of an weather information which you want to send out an email, even it can be done. Once you click that, it will give all of those actions which are available to us, like getting the forecast for today, getting the current weather and weather for tomorrow. And even you can embed that information within your flow. So here are various connections available. Let's say for example, if you're not able to get to your um, get to your connector, in that case you can just type the connector what you're looking out for. So let's say SharePoint. In that case it will list out all of the actions which are available for a SharePoint. uh, Again, for example, if you're not working in SharePoint, you want to perform something on Excel, you can type in Excel, and then from here you will be able to get all of the actions which are available for Excel. So we will not add the action, but at least we will go ahead with the default one. So I will click save, and this the triggering action for, or the triggering point for this particular flow is when a new item is created. So for that purpose, I will go to, yeah, before we go there, one thing to always check is this flow checker. So without running this flow, you can check flow for any kind of an errors or warning. So this is kind of an compile time activity for you. So before you run it, actually just click flow checker. If there are no errors, you can go ahead and test out your flow. So what we will do now is we will add new item to our SharePoint list. So I will just call it as a demo task, and I will click save. So once we do that, our flow should be running. For that, let me go back here, and down under here we should be able to see our flow running. Even from here we can get information about the flow, like flow, the description that we have provided, who is the owner, when it was created, modified, what type of flow this is. So this one is automated flow because we didn't had any kind of a scheduled or manual intervention flow. So this is the automated flow, and sooner our flow should be running. Okay, so now that flow is running, I can click here to see what is happening inside my flow. So now that this green symbol here indicates that the flow is at this particular activity. For example, if you want to get more information, like what are the values that went inside each of those action, you can expand this, and here you can see that this is the site address, this is the list that it has got. The title is the demo task title which we have provided, so it was able to get that title. It was able to get when it was modified, created, who created it, then the picture of who has created it, and then some kind of a JSON payload describing the created by metadata of this particular item. So you can get all this information once you expand that particular activity. Now that you can see this yellow kind of a symbol here, which is kind of an waiting activity. So now that it has started the approvals, but it is waiting for the approval, and we know that we had hard coded our user there for the approval. So for that purpose, I will move to my Outlook. It should have sent out an email to review this task. So now that we have received this email from that flow, and it is asking us to approve or reject. So this kind of a thing what we are seeing here is called as an adaptive cards. So with these adaptive cards, we are able to take the decisions right inside our Outlook. So let's say if I click approve here, I can place my comments like looks good, and then I can click submit. So I don't have to leave the Outlook, go to the Power Platform portal and do the approval, but I will be able to approve it right within my Outlook. So now that I have approved this, let us go back here. You can see that these are turned green. and we can see that the responder who has approved this is this, and the response is approve, and that we took here as an condition. And now that this particular branch has got a chance to run, and we just have informed that item creator of the approval. So if in case we had rejected that, it has fallen under this branch, and then in that case it will again send out the email to the item creation for some kind of a rejection. So even from this visualization, you will be able to make out what path your flow has followed while execution, because there are some circumstances wherein we will be happy with the execution of flow. For example, we are getting the data added to our system, or we're getting some kind of an emails, but it is every time advisable that we should come to this view and try to see what path our flow has followed. So now that when the new item got created, it was able to trigger, which is good. Then it was able to start the approval, which is okay. Then in the conditions, since we approved, it has followed this path, and then we have got the email. Otherwise, even we could have got the email if it has got the rejection path. But this is how from the UI itself, you will be able to check the path that has been followed by your flow. And then as a last part of this flow, it has sent out an email to us with the demo task approved. Since I was the only one who created the task and I was the only one who approved it, I'm getting both the emails. But in real world scenarios, the approver will be some other users. So you will be seeing this this email in the other users inbox who has created that. So this is some kind of a basic example like how you can create your flows. Again, one thing to notice is that we can resubmit this. For example, if there are any errors and if you want to retest this particular Power Automate, we can just resubmit, and we'll be able to check it again. Again, from here we can click edit and go back in the edit mode and make some actions. One thing to note again, here we have test. So once we click test, we have two options, like I will perform the trigger action. So that means I will go to my SharePoint list, add the item, and I will run the flow. Otherwise, the second option is using the data from the previous runs. So we just had only one run of this particular instance. So even I can select this one more time and click test. So for example, let's say our flow is not successful at first attempt, and then we made some changes, and now that we want to again test it. So it's not like we have to go back to our data source. So for example, this SharePoint, and add new item there to check out the flow. But right from here, you can click this using the data from previous run. And with this data, again, you will be able to submit this. So once I again click this, now that the item creation mimic has been created, and now that again it will go to the approval process. So this is how, yeah, now that it has gone to the approval process, we should receive the email again. So you don't have to go back to your data source to create the data again, but you can use this test with the previous test results and move from there. So yeah, miss, again, there are various templates available that you can use. These are the templates that we saw. But for example, just in case you are not happy with any of the templates that is available, in that case, you can start from a blank. In that case, you can select either automated flow, instant flow, or a scheduled flow, or even this UI or business process flow, which is available for CDS. So I will say that, for example, if you have a good business case scenarios, firstly check whether any of the out of the box template available for that. If no, then probably any of the close matching template is available here. Start with that. And if in case you are not able to find any of the template matching your requirements, you can click create, and from here you can you will get the blank canvas on which you will be able to create your flow. Okay. So yeah, miss, at least that was all about the flows. The next thing is Power BI. So Power BI makes it very easy for data analysis and visualizations by connecting to one or more data sources. So with the Power BI, we can connect to various data sources, including maybe Access, Excel, SQL, even Azure SQL. And from that Power BI, we can create the meaningful reports. Again, there are few parts of Power BI. So Power BI is available as Power BI desktop. Again, we have Power BI service, which is kind of a cloud version of Power BI, and then we have a Power BI for mobile. So we will go through this when we will come to demo. And then there are a few of the major building blocks for Power BI. So first one is capacities. So capacities are kind of an core Power BI concept representing a set of resources used to host and deliver your Power BI content. So the capacities are either shared or dedicated. So a shared capacity is shared with other Microsoft customers, while a dedicated capacity is fully committed to a single customer. So dedicated capacities require a subscription. By default, workspaces are created on a shared workspace. Okay, then we have workspaces. So in the workspaces are something like containers for dashboards, reports, data sets, even the data flows inside Power BI. So we have two types of workspaces. First one is my workspace, and then we have workspaces. So my workspace is kind of a personal workspace to any Power BI customer to work with their own content. So only you will have access to your My Workspace. So you can share the dashboards and reports from your My Workspace. And if you want to collaborate on dashboards and reports or create an app, you want to work inside your workspace. Okay, so the workspaces are or these kind of an workspaces. So there is just difference of this word my. So in the workspaces are kind of used to collaborate and share the content with your colleagues, and then you can add colleagues to your workspaces and collaborate onto dashboards, reports, or even onto a data sets. So with one exception, all workspaces members needs Power BI Pro license. Then we have a concept of data sets. So data set is a collection of data that you can import or connect to. Then we have reports. So the Power BI report is one or more pages of visualization. So it could be line charts, maps, tree maps. So visualizations are also called as visuals. So you can create reports from scratch with Power BI, import them with dashboards, and then you can share that with your colleagues. And then we have a dashboard. So dashboard is something you create in Power BI service, or something a colleague creates in a Power BI service and shares with you. So it is a single canvas that contains maybe 0 or more tiles, and even it can contain the widgets. So again, when it comes to designing the Power BI, we have data modeling and visualizations. So on the top, where we have a ribbon, it displays the common tasks associated with your reports or visualizations. And then in the second part, we have the actual visuals that we can play around. And then we have pages at the bottom, so we can create the paginated reports or dashboards or the reports as we want. And then fourthly, we have a visualization. So based on the type of data we want to represent to our users, we can select the visualization. And then fifth, we have fields by which we will be able to drag and drop those fields onto our report and create some meaningful insights out of that particular data. So with that let's go to the demo of Power BI. So for this Power BI, at least I will go to my development workspace. And one thing is that you will have to download this Power BI desktop from the Power BI website. So here what we can do is we can click get data, and we'll be able to get to various data. So if you click more, there are various data sources available from which we will be able to get the data. So in our case, we are just going to get the data from an Excel. So I will click Excel, but based on what kind of an data sources you are using, you can select any of these. So I will click Excel, I will click connect. So on desktop, I just have a simple Excel with some kind of financial sample, not confidential. So I will just click open. So we will start with the visualizations that we would like to use. So for that purpose, we will select maybe these financials, click load. So for example, whenever you are seeing this kind of an content, so it is good that all of the data from your data source is loaded. So we'll click this load, and now that we are going to utilize any of the visualization from here. So let the data load. So we will start with the visualizations, and let's go ahead and use the key influencer, which is here. So you can use any of the visualization here. So I will just click key influencer here. And once we use this key influencer, so key influencer works by analyzing one of your fields against several other fields that are available inside your data. So we will start by analyzing this profit. So I will click on profit. So once I click on profit, it is available under analyze, because we want to analyze this profit against the other fields. So next that we will add the other fields under the explain by. So for that, maybe I will select maybe sales, even the COGS. So those will come under this explain by. Even I will select country, maybe even we will select the date, discount, gross, everything except the product, because we want to analyze this product against each of the other things that we have. So okay, I think this selection is fine. And then now that we have this entire selection with us, and then this key influencer is some kind of an smart visual. So if something does not explain in any increase or decrease in our profit factor, it will just ignore that particular data. So I will just expand this a bit now that we started to get this data here. And from here we can select what influence to our profit in an increase or decrease fashion. So if I click decrease, even we can select that. And even once we select any of those factors, we are able to get the data in the charts or even in some kind of a scattered axis. So now what we can do is we can go to this file, and then we will try to publish this. So I will just click publish, and we'll publish this to Power BI. So before that, it will ask us to save this. So I will just call it as demo, and I will save this. Once we do that, it should prompt us for the publishing. Okay, I think it is still thinking. Okay, let me do it one more time. Let me publish it to Power BI. Okay, nothing is happening. But yeah, once you kind of publish this to Power BI, this kind of a report, it will be available to you with this Power BI report. So let's say, for example, if I open up this Power BI, open it in a new tab, this should be available here. Not sure, it is taking some time to get it published. Once you click this Power BI, at least it prompts or open up this thing directly, and wherein you will be able to see the report that you have created. So from here, you can select or you will be able to visualize the same report that you have created with Power BI desktop. So it is like we can use this Power BI desktop to create our own dashboards and reports. Sorry, create our reports, and once they are created, we can pin those to the dashboards using this Power BI portal. So it is very much easy that we can create our visuals and data modeling with Power BI. So next thing that we want to cover is Power Virtual Agents. So PVAs are kind of an adaptable AI chatbots at your service. So you can easily create your own virtual agents, powerful chatbots without the need for developers or data scientists by creating no code graphical interface. So there are few of the components associated with Power BI virtual agents. So firstly, we have a topics. So a topic defines how the chatbot conversation plays out. So you can author topics by customizing provided templates. Even you can create the new topics. To topics, that means the intent with which user want to get the information from your bot. And then we have entities. So entities, that means the kind of languages that user is using to get the information from bot. So for example, what is the status of my leave application? So those are kind of an entities which user is kind of using as a triggering phase to get the information. So there are few pre-built entities, and even using those pre-built, we can create the custom entities. Then we have actions. So you can enable your chatbot to perform an action by calling Power Automate flows. So from there, we can automate the activities to call back the backend systems and get the information from there. And lastly, we have publishing. So with Power Virtual Agents, you can publish the chatbot to engage with your customers on multiple platforms or channels, including maybe Facebook, even to Microsoft Teams. So you can publish your bots there. So let's look into the demo of this Power Virtual Agent. So for that, again, I will go back to my Power App. Sorry, let me duplicate this and let me go to the make.powerapps.com. I will close out the other parts which we don't need. So here we have a chatbots. So from here we can click create, and it will give us the ability to create a new bot. So from here we'll be able to create the new bots, but I will, instead of just to save the time, I will click list. Even from here you can click new chatbot and you will be able to create a new chatbot, but I will rather go ahead and edit the bot which I already have created. So let it load. So this is the chatbot that we are using to get the information about the order that we have. So let's say we are working for a company who is dealing with some kind of an packages, and as a customer, I want to know the status of my package, like when it will arrive and where it is at the moment. So for that, so this is the home page where we can use this testing bot and even the other information about authoring the topics and publishing your bots. So first thing is that we should define the topic. So that topics, that means the user intent, what the user wants to get out of this bot. So here you can click new topic, you can create your own topic. So we have one topic created as a order tracker. So you can define the name and the description for this order tracker. And then there are some kind of a triggering phase. So triggering phase are kind of an inputs from the user which will trigger this particular topic. So let's say since we want to track the orders, user may ask the questions like what is my order status, when can I expect my order to arrive, has my order shipped, check order status. So this is again done using NLP, natural language processing. So it is not like that users should always use this same wording that we have specified here, but at least this can be taken care by the NLPs. So any of the user queries which are coming, which are matching with this particular triggering phase will be the triggering phase for our topic. Okay. So I will go to this authoring canvas. So the authoring canvas is the canvas wherein we can create our bot flow. So the triggering phases for this particular bot will be the ones which we had defined. And then we are simply greeting the user like I can help answer questions about your order. And then we are from here, you can click add and you can ask a question, you can add any of the condition, you can call Power Automate flow, or you can show a message to the user. So we have used this question by which we will ask the user, do you know your order number? So we will give them multiple choice options. First one is no, second one is yes, and we will store that response in our variable. So for example, let's say if the response is no, in that case we will ask him what is your email address, and then again we will kind of get that email address. So once we ask the question, there are pre-built options available which you can choose. So either the answer could be a boolean, it could be a age, it could be a color. So you can use those predefined. For example, if you don't find anything, you can either go ahead with number or the string. So here we are getting that email address, and again we are storing that in one variable called as email underscore address. Again, from here, we are triggering a flow by calling an action. So if I open this flow, this is very simple flow. It does nothing, but it just mimics that it is going to call some of the system. And this is the email address that we are getting from our user. And in return to the user, I am just mimicking the order number and the delivery date. So this is the one that every user will get, but in the actual scenarios, you will query your tracking system or ordering system, and from there you will get the information. So once it is here, we are sending that message to the user that we were able to track your order. The order number is this, and it is expected to arrive on this particular date, and then we are ending our conversation. So this is how the bot will work. So we have the chat box here in which we can test how this bot is working. So we will just say hi. So even from here, we'll be able to track how our bot is following this process. So here I will, because now that there are various topics available, including system topics as well as the user defined topics, but to get to our topic, which is the order. So I will maybe type like, what is my order status? Okay. So now this should trigger our triggering phase. Okay, so now that it has triggered our triggering phase, it has displayed the message to the user like I can help answer questions about your order. And now that it has asked this question to the user, do you know your order number? So in that case, we will say no, so that it will follow this particular branch. So I'm saying no, I don't know my order tracking number. So it is saying what is your email address? So I will type in my email address. And you know that irrespective of the email address that we are going to provide, it is going to call that flow and it is going to give us that false information. So now that it was able to track our information, the order, and now it says that we were able to track your order. The order number is this, and it is expected to arrive on this particular date. And in the ending of the conversation, it will use its own due diligence, and it will ask like, did that answer your question? We can say yes, maybe, and then it will ask us to rate itself, because it is some kind of an advanced AI bot, and we will say okay, we are happy with the service. Again, it will ask whether can it help with anything else. We can say yes if you want to move ahead with the discussion, or you can simply say no thanks, and we can end the conversation there. So this is how you can simply create your bots without writing a single line of code. And for example, if you want to publish this kind of an bots to other media, you can click this publish, and again publish from here. Okay. So here we have various channels available. I think I already had published this to my teams, so that's the reason it has already. Otherwise, you can click this go to channels, and you can publish this bot to Microsoft Teams, even to your demo website, to your custom website that you have created, even to the mobile app, Facebook, Skype, Cortana, Slack, even to the Line, Twilio, GroupMe, email. So you will be able to incorporate this bot with any of these systems that you already have. Even you can use it with your Telegram. So for example, if you are getting bugged with many of the messages from your friends, just for hello, hi, how are you doing, in that case you can use your bot, and then bot can reply to you, and you can use that time for some kind of an usefulness. Okay, but don't do that. All right, so this is how the basic chatbots can be built with PVAs. And then lastly, this is not very much related related to the PL-900, but just still I wanted to go ahead and present this like the on-premises data gateway. So now that we are mostly talking about the cloud, everything into the cloud, but most of the business still run on-premises. And let's say we have our data in on-premises. In that case, how we can still connect to that on-premises data from cloud applications like Power BI, Power Automate, or even from Power Apps. So in that case, we have the option of on-premises data gateway. So this on-premises data gateway can be used to connect to your on-premises data sources from Power BI, from Power Apps, Power Automate, even the data flows. So once you will have to install this data gateway in your favorite search engine. You can just type on-premises data gateway, and then it will download you one exe which you can install on any of the machine which is connected to your domain, and from there you will be able to expose your data publicly to the cloud, so that these applications like Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate will be able to utilize your or get the information from your on-premises data sources. So when it comes to the on-premises data gateway, there are two modes of it. One is personal mode, which can be used by a single user. So for example, if you are just a Power BI user, in that case you can use this personal mode to create your report, design your report solely. Or for example, if you want to use it in an enterprise mode, you can use this standard mode, so that you can collaborate with your team members to create those Power BI reports, even the Power Apps or Power Automates. So these are the two modes available, personal and the standard. Then again, question comes is like, do we always need the data gateway? So the answer is obviously no. So for example, if you have your data as a SQL in Azure, so we can call it as a uh, SQL Azure database. In that case, we will not need the data gateway because that data is already in the cloud. Second example, let's say we have our on-premises SQL server. In that case, yes, we will need the on-premises data gateway, by which we'll be able to connect to that on-premises SQL server and get the data to cloud. The third case is that, let's say we have our virtual machine, and in that virtual machine we have a SQL database. So this is a bit tricky. Someone still says uh, we need, someone say we not, but yes, here we do need the on-premises data gateway. The reason is that even though the virtual machine is in the cloud, still we have the physical SQL Server instance running inside that, so it is considered as an on-premises source. So in that case, we will need the on-premises data gateway to connect to that SQL instance which is running on our Microsoft Azure virtual machine. And then as a summary, just to summarize that, we explored this Power BI, wherein we are able to create the meaningful reports and the dashboards out of the data that we have or out of the content that we have. Then we have a Power Apps, by which we can perform the application development by creating Canvas app, by creating the model-driven apps. Even we can create the portals using Power Apps. The Power Automates help us to create the business or process automation. And then lastly, Power Virtual Agents help us to create the chatbots with very ease. Then we have a data connectors to connect to multiple databases, services. We have AI Builder capabilities which can be used for adding the AI flavor to your applications. And then we have CDS lastly. So I guess that was the summary of this. And then here are few of the references. So the certification guide, which from where you can schedule your exam, as well as you can check the latest what is covered inside your PL-900 exam. And then I will again encourage you to explore this Microsoft Learn path. Do complete that Learn path and then appear for the exam. With that, thank you very much, and thanks for having me here, and all the best with your exam. So if there are any questions, we can open to those.
Thank you, Nanddeep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nanddeep. So, guys, if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself and
Hi.
put in your questions.
Is there any mock test available for this exam?
There is no direct mock test available, but for example, there are paid tests available because if you go to again to this
Yeah.
PL900,
Before taking paid
yeah,
test, if there is any mock test, I just thought about it.
there is no mock test as such. But for example, whenever you will complete each of the modules, so let me open
Okay.
this, and at the end we have a knowledge check here. So this will help
Okay.
you to gain the knowledge. So for example, let's say you're not able to answer everything correctly, it will prompt you to go back to that section, read it again, and recheck your knowledge.
I think that should be fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Nanddeep,
Yeah, hi.
Harish here.
Hi.
Nanddeep, for example, if you are building a Canvas app, Power Apps portal, it always asks for the users to be having the required privileges on the data source, right? For example, if you are going with SharePoint or those kind of data sources, it requires users to be having access to those data sources, correct?
Yes.
If they are not having the access to the data sources, there is no other way for these users to view or insert data into those forms. Is there a way to impersonate it using a service account or some other way to retrieve or insert data and make it work instead of sharing access with all the users? Because if we are sharing with a lot of external users, for example portals or uh, those kind of instances where you have more than 1,000 or 2,000 users which who are going to be accessing these forms, it's not an ideal scenario to share the information with everybody, right? Is there a way to impersonate or handle that in Power Apps?
Yeah, means at least in the environment that we create. So for example, if I go to whoa, if I go to the admin center, there we have environments, and in the environments we can create the roles, and then we can define those access controls by which we'll be able to expose this particular data with your users. So if I go here, let me check because this is bit old version, but at least okay, it is not here. Just a moment, let me check with my another subscription. But one thing is like here yeah, sorry, here we have those security roles. So once you go to those security roles, based on what kind of an app you are developing, you can either create a new role and add the users who should be able to access that particular app or that particular data,
Uh,
and from here you will
but
be able to, yeah.
Right, Nandip, but my question is now, let's say if I want to share a particular app with all the users in an organization or something like that, okay? In that case, we can't keep the SharePoint or, the data source data open for everybody, right? Because everybody would be able to access the data. So my question was that, is there a way to impersonate and, not let the users have access to those data source, but they would still be able to access these forms and fill it?
No, miss, at least in the cloud, we don't have those kind of an impersonation. But let's say, for example, if user is authorized to view the content, he can view that particular content because we are not giving him the rights to modify the content. So if
Right.
the design needs is to have the user view the content, we can anyways give everyone access to maybe to the SharePoint
Okay,
or even
so
to this app, so that user will be just able to view the content, but they won't be able to edit the content.
right, but let's say if we want to insert some data, right? For example, if I have a form open for external users who can fill in some information, but unless they have the right access to the SharePoint list or the data source, they will not be able to make that entry, right? In that case, I think the only alternative approach is to build a basic HTML form and make the data entry operations through Power Automate or other means. Or is there any
Yeah,
workaround?
no, no, means at least the requirement is something like if the user should add the data to any of the data source, then the basic requirement is that that user should
Right,
have access to that data source. So for
right.
example,
Or
if
they
you're
should be having access to data sources.
correct, right. So because your business defines like what kind of an data or what kind of an roles that every user should play with your data. It should be just read or even edit or add. So let's say, for example, you want to have the have the feasibility of adding external users data to your SharePoint list. In that case, you will have to enable the external sharing on that particular SharePoint list. Otherwise, the external users won't be able to add the data. Even though, for example, you are doing it from Power Apps, if the underlying data source, which is SharePoint, doesn't allow your external users to add the content to it, it will not work,
Right.
because that is a design restriction that you are imposing on your data source.
Right. Okay. I think that sort of sounds like a limitation
Yes,
because
yes, correct, right.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, Onka here. So like as you said, like we need to follow the learn path by Microsoft MSDN itself. So do you suggest any other documentation to be followed, like, or that's enough? Because I went through it because it's like it's deep there. Like we can follow the knowledge check, but like after that I found another link, so I went inside that. So that's a use. So
Yeah, correct. Miss, at least there are too many things to learn in the Power Platform. So even it has got cross linkages, even linkages to other websites. But it's like miss, the kind of thing is like, if you go to this website one more time. So only thing that you will have to concentrate on these skills, those are going to be measured, because there is no ending to the learning. Because at least
yeah.
I remember that when I took this exam, I guess it was in the month of May or June. At that point, I do recollect that there wasn't any mention of model-driven apps. But now that if you revisit this, now that we have this model-driven apps included, because at least at that time, at that point of time, it was only covering the Canvas app. So whenever you are taking the exam, again revise, look at this, like what are the skills that are going to be measured. Even I doubt that for the Power Virtual Agent there wasn't this much of weightage. It was just 5 to 10%, but now that it is bit increased, even I do recollect that there was lesser weightage for the Power BI. Power BI portals, but now that it is more. And again, one thing to check here is when the content has got revised or updated.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, again, as you said, there are too much of learnings here. But the other options could be, you can watch the videos from on this from maybe okay, I forgot the name, from Udemy, or even from uh, sorry, I forgot the name. Um, or Kasam,
Fuller site also.
Plural
yeah,
site.
plural site.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Right,
Yes.
right. But again, check like when that was released and when this exam is updated. Because I know that most of the authors, they do revise their content on a regular basis, but it is worth checking that when that course was last updated and when this exam is lastly updated. So that means just to make sure that we are covering those latest content. But just only for that reason, my more emphasis will be to cover everything which is inside this learn path, because this is always up to date.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
Thanks. Yep.
thank you. And again, one more thing is that practice more, because by reading you will get at least some idea, but as you will practice or do more hands-on, you will get more confidence.
Yep. Sure. Yep.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, one thing means there are many certifications,
Hmm.
Azure and architect, and so I heard this first time
Oh,
PL-900. So how much which will I should uh, do in next,
correct.
like
So
303, 304, right? 203 development solution architect
yeah,
solution. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, means at least once it comes to the Microsoft certification, there are various paths and various levels. So maybe I can represent that in a notepad. Not a greatest way to represent, but at least we have Microsoft Azure path. Then we have Microsoft 365 path. I will just call it as M65, and then we have this Power Platform and Dynamics 365. So we. Oh, and then in the Azure, we also have more paths for data, then for AI, then for the Azure basics like the architect and other things that you have described. Again, in the Microsoft 365, we have for Teams, we have it for hybrid, and then even we do have it for security and compliance related things. And then once it comes to Power Platform, again, we do have many other aspects. So based on what kind of technologies you are working on at the moment, or you are planning to work in the future, you can select that particular path. And again, irrespective of which of the path you choose, there are three levels of certifications. Okay. Oh. So first one is fundamentals. Second one is associate, and third one is expert. Okay, so the topic that we are covering today is for PL-900, which is fundamentals. So likewise, we have PL-900, then we have MS-900 for Microsoft 365 fundamentals. We have AZ-900 for Azure fundamentals. Then we have AI-900 for AI fundamentals. Even we do have one for data. I don't recollect the exact number now, but to which of the area you want to have, we have three levels. One is fundamentals, covering only fundamentals part. Then we have associate level covering some aspect of the specializations on maybe Azure data, AI, Microsoft 65, or even Dynamics Plus Power Platform. And then lastly, we have an expert. So to qualify for the expert, there are certain conditions like for example, if you pass one exam or maybe combination of two exams, so you'll be able to get those expert badge. So one thing to note again here is that the fundamental certification, they will be valid for lifetime or for a longer time. The associate and expert level of exams, they will be valid only for 2 years. So for example, if you take this exam today, it will be valid for 2 years. And again, after 2 years, there might be new technology things onto which we will have to again revalidate our skills. So these fundamental exams will be there for a long time or for lifetime, you can say. Associate and experts will be for 2 years, and then again you will have to revalidate. So based on what technology platform you're working on or you're planning to work on, choose either of this path.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
which one is more in demand currently in market?
Because at least that is
Uh,
very tricky question, since I'm working mostly onto the Microsoft 365. I can say it is good, but even if you compare that with Microsoft Azure or Power Platform plus Dynamics 365, even they are equally doing good in the market. So it is based on your interest, like where you want to focus majorly, or what kind of background you are coming in from. So for example, if you are coming from some kind of an development background, then probably these two suits will interest you more. For example, if you are coming from some kind of an non-developer but business-oriented background, then Dynamics 365 and Power Platform will interest you more. So it is based on like your interest as well as the some kind of a background knowledge that you have. So based on that, you can choose either of your path. All of the Microsoft technologies are really doing good. So it is like comparing the apples with oranges. If I say Microsoft 365 is good than Azure, so we cannot compare that.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for the information.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right. So, for example, even after this session, if you have any queries, you can drop me an email or you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I do reply there.
And last question, like, will this be video to uploaded to YouTube?
Yes, so Kasam will upload this to his YouTube channel.
Yes, sure.
Thank
So I think
Okay,
this
and
should
just
be
one more thing
available
to
very
add.
soon. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, sorry. So just one more thing to add that whenever the video will get published, just make sure to apply or to submit the answers for the quiz. There will be a link for quiz, and you can get a chance to win the Microsoft certification vouchers. So there are two winners who will be getting the vouchers. So make sure that when you see the video, go through the video, learn the content, just try to answer the questions that will be based on today's session content only. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Right. Again, it is one kind of a mechanism by which you can validate your knowledge, which you have gained in this particular session and which you have learned so far. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? Or for example, if you have it later, you can get in touch with me on any of this medium, and I can reply you back.